So I'm going to create over here. I'm going to create another sub. I'll just call it. It's gonna be a private again because everything is within this form. So update text, and so don't confuse it with the refresh text. Refresh text is again, to refresh it forces the control to invalidate and redraw itself. Update text simply will kind of synchronize our scroll bars with our text boxes. So we will update values here. That's all we will do. So our text underdog value.text now equals the value that is being stored in the HSB, the scroll bar underdog value. Our favorite team, on the other line, our favorite team value will now have the same value as the scroll bar for the favorite. And we'll do the same for the game 4, 5, 6, and 7. So I just paused it again so you don't have to watch me type it, but basically it's the same thing. We have our text box that displays the number for how many 4-game series were played, and assigns it the value that is already calculated here in our play game for each of the scroll bars. So that's the values, but we also have over here the percentages. How many, if the underdog wins 50%, 5,000 games, we want to display 50% here. That's how many. We want to display the percentage probability, basically. So we will update percentages, and to do that, it's kind of similar, except we have to format it into a percentage. So it's the same kind of thinking. We have our underdog percent text box that displays the percentage. So what we have to do is call the format percent and pass the value from the scroll bar for the underdog, but we have to divide it by number of games. All right, because this is the percentages we are doing. So what's the final percentage? So and we want two decimal points. So this is the formatting. So we get the value from the scroll bar. We divide it by the number of games, which is 10,000, and that will throw us the percentage, and we want it in 2 decimal places. Similarly, the text for favorite percent.text equals the format percent, and again it's gonna be the HSB favorite.value divided by games and 2 decimal places. And we'll do the same for the games 4, 5, 6, and 7 text boxes. So here's our all updates for the percentages, and this is all we have to really update. These are the text boxes that now correspond or are synchronized with the scroll boxes. The scroll bars, and are correctly formatted. These are correctly formatted into percentages, while these simply display the actual numbers. So we have that, and so we have all the methods. So now we have to call them from our click. When we click the button, we want to call these methods, and we want to call them 10,000 times. Actually, I only typed 1,000 here, so let me do 10,000 for the games, because that's how many times they want us to play. The exercise says the program should simulate playing of 10,000 World Series. So it could be minimum of 40,000 games if that is all of them are four games. So in order to do that, let's check the input first. So if is numeric, we'll check in whether the input for the probability over here into our text box is actually a number. We don't want to use it to enter a character, because that would blow the whole application. So if it's numeric, what the probability that text has, then we can proceed. And we can do an else statement. Else, if it's not numeric, then we will display a message box. Else message box. I don't know, something like please enter valid probability. All right, and let's do the MSG box style. Let's make it critical because we cannot continue if the input is not valid, and we'll name it invalid entry. So this is our text box if the input is not actual number. If it is a number, we can start our 10,000 loop. So we will do a for I as a integer equals 0 to games minus 1, because obviously we start from 0, that's 10,000 games, so there's 9,909 indexes from 0 to 9,909, which would be 10,000. So that's our loop, and the thing that we'll simply call is our play game. We already have the method that plays each of the series. It plays a game until the series is over, and then gives us back or updates the values. So we will simply call play game. So now remember, over here in the note they want us to update or refresh the screen when there's 10 series World Series won. So we can do, instead of like every single one of them, we'll update it every 10th one. So if, how do you do that? Well, you just use the mod functionality. If mod I mod 9 equals 0, so basically it will equal 0 every 10th game, like a 10th game, 20th game, 30 and so forth. Otherwise mod would not equal to 0. If you like, you start from 0, otherwise it would be 10. In fact, you know what, let's start from 1 and do this, so it's not so confusing, I guess. Alright, so if I mod 10, meaning that if you start from 1, mod 10 is just 1. If I equals 10, then 10 mod 10 equals 0. There is no reminder. 10 divided by 10 is 1 with no reminder. So we know that now we have 10 games. So now we will update the text, and we have, remember, we have updated text here with all the text boxes. So we will call the update text, and then we have to kind of animate it. We have to move those scroll boxes and update the numbers to change. We will call the refresh. So refresh text. And after the loop is done 10,000 times, then we will display the final statistics. So we will do, after the loop, display average duration of the World Series. We will, and to do that, we will multiply each game period, I'm not sure how I'm wording it right, by associated duration. And what I mean by that is if there are 4 games that need to be played, then we will multiply that by 4. 4 games multiplied by 4, 5 games multiplied by 5. Let me just write it as an example here. So for example, 4 games times or multiplied by 4, 5 games multiplied by 5, etc. And then we will add them together to get the total number of games played, and divide, this is a long comment, by total of World Series played. because we only know at this point how many World Series we played, but we know how many 4 games were played. We know how many 5 games were played, and so forth. So that's how we get all the numbers. We'll kind of add them together for the actual number of games, because there's gonna be 10,000 World Series, but we also want to know how many games within that 10,000 World Series were actually played. Again, the lowest number available would be 40,000 if all the games were 4-0, or all the series was 4-0. So so this is the comment. So the code basically would be the average.text, that's the final text box, equals, and we will format the number. So I'll just put it into a formatting, and so add them together. So HSB games 4 dot value is multiplied by 4, and then we will add the other ones. So HSB games 5 is multiplied by 5 plus HSB game 5 dot value plus the HSB games 6 dot value multiplied by 6, and plus the 7th one would be obviously the HSB games 7 dot value is multiplied by 7. And when we get the total for these games, how many games were played, we will do a division. You know what, let me put it on a different line over here. This will give us the total of games played, and now we will, not World Series game, just how many games within all the World Series were played. So we will divide it by the 10,000, which is games. And since we are formatting it, we formatted it, it just says it right here, optional. It basically says how many decimal places, so we want 2 decimal places for this number. And we can add to it as a string, just so it says games at the end, so it has some kind of like a nice output. So you know, okay, so so let me just put this over here too. So again, we are calculating the total number of games played within all the 10,000 World Series. So then we will, we are trying to get the average. So you get the total number of games divided by 10,000, and we are formatting it in 2 decimal places. And basically it will set the number like 5.87 games in our text box. Okay, I think this might be all we need. Well, let's run it and see. So okay, the form loaded. That's a good sign. So let's do 40 and simulate outcome. And yeah, it's moving. You can see the numbers are updating, the scroll bars are updating, and it reached the end. So by the way, when you to test whether we have it correctly, these 2 numbers should equal to 10,000, because we are playing 10,000 World Series. So 3554 plus 6, 10,000. The same with these. These 4 numbers are all the games within 10,000 World Series, so they should actually equal to 10,000. So 1483 plus 2933 plus 2979 plus 2605, and it is 10,000. And since it's 10,000, 3,554 games out of 10,000 is obviously 35.54%. This would be 64.46%, because 6,446 is 64.46%. And this is the same thing. This is kind of nice, but it's in 10,000 games. It's easy to see that the percentages are actually calculated correctly. So there would be 14% chance of 4 games series, 29% chance for 5 games, and 26% for 7 game. All right, so actually, you know what, let me also check or test it with the, if I don't enter a number and enter, let's say, I enter a number but with a text, and I click, it says, yeah, please enter valid probability. So what if I enter 100%? So that's obviously not an underdog, but if it's 100%, then underdog should have 100% of wins. This one should have 0% of wins. So let's see. And you can see that underdog would win, and it would win obviously in all 4 games. So that would be, there you go, 100% chance of winning, because it's 100% probability. So it would win, underdog would win all 10,000 games, and he would only need 4 games. It would never even come to a 5-game series. Now, what if I enter 50? So, that's oh, okay. Here's the thing. That's a little bug, but I'm not even gonna fix it. I'm not gonna let you do it. What happens here is when I run the program and it finishes, and then I run it again, it just keeps going. It doesn't refresh itself. So if this is over, and if I click again, see, it just starts from where it ended. It just keeps adding to it, and then it crashes. That's because we are not resetting our values for each button click. It just simply says a value of 10,001 is not valid, because obviously it has to be up to 10,000, but we never refreshed it or reset it after the button or before the button is clicked. So I'm not gonna do it though, because you can do it yourself. It's very simple fix anyway. What I'm going to do is run it one more time with the 50%. Basically, probability is 50%, so that could be quite close. So let's see. Hey, there you go. Our underdog wins 54% versus 45% chance, and it would take down here. That's the final calculations that we did. 5.84 games on average within each World Series. So now let's run one more. Let's see. They say that, for example, probability of 40% is about 29% for the underdog. So I didn't notice what it did before, but again, each time it will be a little different, but it should be close enough, you know, like the and it is. It's 24%, as I said, by average. In their calculations it was 29, so that's pretty close, and it takes 5.73 games if the underdog probability is 40% of chance of winning. All right, so this is the exercise. I hope it wasn't too confusing, and if it was, I hope I actually help you kind of see through it and understand what's going on. So if that's the case, please leave a like, please leave a comment, share with your friends, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.